Alright, well, happy Wednesday afternoon, everyone. Well, not quite so happy as usual. It is Wednesday, right before my trip up to Austin to go to the races, MotoGP at COTA. And the Super Cub already has a tattoo. The person who did it shall remain nameless at this point, but let's just say it wasn't me. The reported incident was a drop in a parking lot. So we can see the huge scuffs down the side leg shield here. And the back of the fender got a nice dink in it as well. It doesn't look like there was any damage on the axle or anywhere else, nothing up the side, until we get right up to the lever, which is significantly bent inward now and scuffed up pretty good. And of course my fancy new CRG bar end mirror got a grinding right here. Took a pretty good impact. It folded and did its job, but not before. What is wrong with that picture? No glass. So, anyway. The other thing that happened, of course, along the side is the brake lever is not straight anymore. That took a serious impact. That's what makes me think this was not a parking lot tip over. This was an in-motion accident in order to impart enough force to that guy to bend it back so far. The tip over would do this. You got concrete embedded in it, but a tip over would not do that. That is the telling tale right there. You're not going to get a concrete mark and scuffs and deep gouges in the aluminum from a tip over. Concrete's over here, not here. So this was an impact. This hit something. The person who did it is not giving me the whole story. This got banged up, that got chewed up, and the exhaust cover is seriously mangled back here, as is the lower part of the can. Luckily, this is a pretty stout unit, so that's just surface. But I don't know if you noticed that. You can see the concrete dust on my hand here. That wasn't a tip over. That's a motion mark, and it brought up concrete dust with it. So that means this thing was in motion when it took a header. Anyway, I'm less than pleased about that, and this person won't be riding my Cub anymore. I ordered all the pieces. Everything's available, which is good, but not on hand. So it's all being delivered. Should be here late this week, early next week, but not before I take my trip to Austin. So unfortunately, my new pretty toy is just going to have to go with a couple of battle scars on it, because I'm going one way or another. This piece, a new brake lever, because I'm not sure if I can successfully bend that one back. It is pretty stout. I just tried to pull it and bend it. I just noticed another giant impact. Yeah, that's an impact mark. That's not a tip over. This thing took an impact against something. Looks like a parking pylon or something. Something pretty tall. Anyway, I don't know if I can bend that guy back or not. I may just have to use it like it is. It's not dragging. It's still free, so it's usable. It's just suboptimal, not great. Anyway, that piece, this piece, a new lever here, and what was it? There were a couple of them. Oh, I've got a new fender just because this one's cracked back here as well as the scuff. So those pieces all told was just a little over $200. That's not too bad. Unfortunately, this piece, which is kind of the pretty part of the bike, that thing's 220 bucks for this leg shield. So I didn't order that right now. What I'm going to do instead, I had already kind of planned on putting some reflective tape, some retro-reflective tape on there. And I have it, so I'll probably go ahead and take a little bit of light sandpaper to this and smooth it down a tiny bit. Clean it up with alcohol, and I'll go ahead and run my reflective tape along this curve and cover that up. At some point I may go ahead and replace that, just because I know the problem is there, and it's going to make me mad. Yeah, that was the only damage, just right side. It hit something and tumbled pretty hard enough to bend this brake lever in. You can see how far in that is, and it's bent up as well. So it's way out of whack. That was looks like about a 10-mile-an-hour spill. Definitely not being dropped off of the center stand, which was the story. Anyway, the new brake lever is also another item I got. That's in stock item. I just picked that up. It was $10. So anyway, I have the replacement CRG mirror for this. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on there. I did order the glass as well, so I'm gonna pull this one off and keep it as spare. And yeah, you can see how far this thing got shoved into. It got pushed in about half an inch from that impact. Anyway, so I'm gonna loosen up the bar end adapter, pull it out of there, dismount this, put the new one on. I'll replace this glass and keep this mirror as a spare, or maybe put it on the Riker or something. And I've walked around this 3 or 4 times without saying anything. This is the Airhawk Cruiser Small, and it fits pretty well. I just ordered it. I wasn't 100% sure how it's gonna look on here because I've got the larger one. It does okay, but it leaves all of this open up here. To kill 2 birds with 1 stone, or 1 bird with 2 stones, actually, would be the right way to say it. I ordered the what is it, the Dual Sport version of this as well, and the Dual Sport has got a longer design to it, so it should be in later today, maybe tomorrow before I leave, and I'll test fit both of them, see which one fits better, and that's going to go on there for the trip. So that'll hopefully help me with my numb butt syndrome. Anyway, I'll get to replacing this stuff and forget about my boo-boos. Okay, so let's get this underway. We'll go ahead and pull the other bar end mirror off of there. I believe it was a 5. Yeah, it's a 5. So we'll do the this guy out of there. And try not to lose my spreader down in there, which I just about did. Oh yeah, he geeked up my grip too. Man, broke my throttle tube and everything. That's why what I was talking about on that first trick, or the first installment. I don't know if you noticed when I was saying you gotta be careful of these spreaders. They have a tendency to want to separate, and if you don't have your bars angled level or down, that spreader could slide off in there. So what we'll do now first here is I'm going to disassemble this. Angle my camera down a little. We're going to disassemble this guy. Use the seat here as a workbench, why not? So you guys over there. Loosen that up, loosen this up, take it completely out of there. Yeah, that thing took a beating. Look at that dink that it took on the fold. It even got mangled there. Well, the whole mirror is being replaced, so I don't care so much about it at this point. Okay, so that mirror is gonna stay for a rebuild. That's obviously how you tear it apart there. You know, if you need to replace the bracket, all the pieces are available separately, and I did order the glass that goes in there. It comes with its own little O-ring here to prevent it from rattling. So I'll rebuild that later. I might do that on camera as well. But what I'm gonna do first is do my retake on the bar weight mirror issue, if I can find that bar weight in my pocket. So this is the bar weight that was originally in there, and this is the one that I think this is the one. It might have been the other one. I chewed it up pretty good. I Yeah, bent the ears up and tore it apart. We don't care for this situation because what we're going to do is just spread this guy. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it on camera. Okay. Get off. Try to do it with my fingernails and not lose a fingernail in the process. Get off. Get. So we don't need that guy anymore. We don't want it to lock into anything. Besides, it's going to be much deeper in there than that. It goes away. So in another video, I was saying that the right way to use this would be to just shave this little keyed section off flat, and you can get a few more turns on the threads, but my bench grinder is down and I just haven't gotten around to buying another one or fixing mine. I think the motor's shot on it. Anyway, so what I figured out is this thread in the end of the bar end adapter is the same as the thread in the weight. So we can just Siamese these guys together, clamp it down a little bit, and I also use some electrical tape, just 1 or 2 turns of this, to hold those spreaders on there and kind of join these guys together. I'll put a little dab of Loctite down in there, so hopefully it doesn't have a propensity to kind of turn and undo itself and fall in there somewhere. But we'll get to that right now. So got the tape here. I'll do that next. I do need a little spacer. I'll walk over here and get it. I remember dropping it on the ground. Here's my high-tech spacer. This is a hair bungee, whatever you want to call it. I used it when I put the other one in there the other day. Works nicely. Hey, see what I mean? This thing just falls apart. These, I like CRG, but these spreader mechanisms kind of a turd. Anyway, put this back the way it was. I don't know which side was which, but they don't really have a conical taper to them. They're just cylindrical. The trick here, so we got to give ourselves enough slack. Turn that down just a little bit. Get these guys lined up on the right sides, kind of sort of like that, because this is going to push this way. You don't want the spread to come out one of the sides. That's not going to help you very much. Then I'm just going to put a turn of regular old electrical tape on here, if I can get them to stay next to each other. So I'm going to do 1 turn on here just to hang on to these guys. Okay, like that. I hope I'm keeping this on camera. I have no idea. Okay, so that keeps it from falling apart, sliding down into your bar, and really ruining the flow of your day. Now I'm going to turn this guy up a little bit to give me some more threads to work with. Yeah, that's way loose. So we got plenty of turns to go here. We're just going to crank a little bit. So I've got several threads turned out there, probably what, 5 threads? And I've still got a lot of slack. So that's good stuff. Ah, I forgot. I want to set the gap on that guy. That's why I went and got my super fancy spacer. There we go. All I'm doing with this, you could do it with anything, but that proved to be a nice spacer depth for that one over there the other day, so it just gives me a guideline there. So that keeps the spacer inside the end of the bar instead of halfway out. Put some tension on it, that way it holds it. And then now I can remove that guy. Yeah, that'll work. All right, so get it to where it's almost snug. There it is. I think that's gonna do her. Man, that got banged to hell in there. Oh yeah, cut up my grip real good. cracked my throttle tube in 2 or 3 places. Good job. Ay, ay, ay. Those people that shall remain nameless are starting to get on my bad side. I'm gonna move this guy a little further down. So much for my spacer idea, huh? Yeah, that's gonna work. Okay. Take up the slack. A little too much slack. Oh yeah, that's gonna do it right there. Okay, so got the test fit done. Now this leaves me, again, you know, about 5 threads on here. I hope that's showing up on camera. The exercise now is going to be, you know, finding my Loctite that I know I brought out here. Armed with Loctite now. So that guy is set about the right depth. It's got a little bit of a gap, and it's very bent now. I don't know how that happened, but more to sort out. Anyway, you have to leave a little bit of gap at the end of your throttle tube so the mirror adapter isn't mashing into your grip and causing interference with your throttle. So I would say just leave a little bit of room here. That's why I got the spacer on the other side, was to match it up to this one. I would do, you know, something about like that right there. So we'll set that when we get this guy in there. What I'm going to do is goop her up a little bit with some Loctite, and I really don't care how much I put in there. Normally a little dab will do her, but in this case, hey, doesn't matter because it's all going down that tube anyway. Okay, so what we got here is just get her snug right about there. Doesn't have to be super duper tight because we still have to be able to turn this, and we don't want to be threading 2 things at once. That's gonna make our life difficult. And notice it does sit a little crooked because of that, but this is rubber damped anyway, so it's not gonna make a difference. Electrical tape. I better put these screws and stuff away before I lose them. It's hot out here today. Everything I'm touching is burning. Pardon my sniffles too. It's still extreme allergy season right now. We've got a real bad pollen problem going on. Grass pollen, tree pollen. It is off the charts right now. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting several turns of tape down this guy. I don't want to get it into the rubber because I need that to be free. So I'm just going to stop about right there. And that'll just be a little bit of an extra insurance that this doesn't want to separate through vibration over many, many thousands of miles. Now we'll shove this in there. Grab my little spacer here. Slide it in, and I think that's going to be about my spacing there. Yeah, let's leave about 1/16 of an inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch, free space. And hold on to it and give her a good twist. Yep, so still not contacting it, I'm good. Let's go for broke. Oh, hey, it doesn't want to stay put. Oh, that's a trick, hanging on to it, because the tape makes it a little bit slippery inside the bar. So you got to be able to hang on to it and the bar at the same time until it gets mashed into that tape well enough. Looks like I pulled it out a little bit as I'm tightening. And it's bent too. It took a serious whack. We're gonna go around with the whole thing and in at the same time. There we go, I got it to go in. Yeah, that's got a gap. All right, let's see if we can hold it still this time. Yep, that's good. Okay, she's not moving. Good. Now comes the fun part. Reassembling the new mirror. Now watch me drop this one on the pavement. Oh, that would piss me right off. And I need a knife. This. Stay with me now. Oh, stay with me now. Ooh, it's hot. Oh man, it's hot. Oh, it's hot. Ooh. It's about 92 out here today, 93, and then the sun is a whole lot hotter than that. So let's get this guy disassembled. We'll put this one in here for now. I'm not gonna need those for the moment. I'm not gonna need that. This I will need. Momentitos. Okay. Golly, that thing's hot. Woohoo! That's a short one. Okay, so the bottom one is short, the top one is longer. Notice that a moment ago. Let's see if we can get that on there. Nope. Really have to open it up pretty far to stretch that mount over the lip. Wow, you really have to open it up. Took it completely apart last time, so I guess that's what I'm going to do again. Okay, here we go. So I have to Loctite those screws. I noticed that the damaged one that I just took off was already loose, the mount, so probably that impact is what did it, but could have been vibration, who knows. And I did Loctite them, so. Okay. Ah, my nose. Okay, so we're gonna get the angle set on this. We're just gonna eyeball across to the other one, a little more upright. Eeny, meeny, yep, that looks pretty good to me. Okay, so now we crank the top one down, get the mirror set roughly where we want it. Should be about there, just a little bit back from center. Give it a good crank, and same with the bottom one. Loosen it up a hair, try to get those even. Okay. Yep, and now give the top one a good crank to set the tension on that ball. Yep, still moves. Let's give it a little more love. Right. Yeah, stand put. Okay, so back to at least a respectable look up top, minus that nonsense that I'll have to take care of later today. Gotta go digging through the garage and find my tape that I was going to put on there. I got it for scooters a while back. I used about half the roll, and I still have half of the roll to go, so it should be plenty enough to stripe the front edges, both sides of that leg shield. It's, I think, 1/4 inch wide, maybe 1/2 inch wide. Should work nice. Okay, I'm going to stop this video here for just a second, so I've got a clean break. I'm going to resume with doing the shifter readjustment that somebody had asked about, so I'll show that process. It's very fast. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is replace this bent brake lever. Just noticed another boo-boo. My turn signal took a hit. It's tweaked up considerably on that side. And then I just looked, and it's got a scuff right here. That's just cosmetic, but you can see that that whole housing is mangled up right there compared to the other one. Yeah, it's popped out, so I got to figure out if it's possible to bend that back in or figure out what happened here. I guess I just manhandle it back into place. If it's possible to manhandle it back in place, I'm going to replace these anyway, but didn't want it to be because of that. No, it's still bent. have I mentioned that that person's not going to be riding my Cub anymore? Yeah, I can feel the housing here's all bent to you know what. So I would have to take this whole thing apart to figure out what's bent in there in order to bend it back. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to be sourcing the ones from the Euro market anyway. Sure glad I didn't break this top cover. Anyway, it's a good thing that I had already gotten my 10mm out for my shifter thing, because, hey, that's the same size. Lefty-loosey. $10mm on the top, 10mm on the bottom. Okay. Out she goes. And I would assume there's nothing fancy about this other than I need to get a little bit of gear grease or some kind of goop to put on the pivot here. Fairly standard situation. Won't be the first one of these I've replaced, and I'm sure it won't be the last. Funny enough, I've never had to do it on my own street bikes. Have I mentioned that person's not going to be riding my Cub anymore? You think she's crooked much? Just a little. That should be straight. Jesus. Luckily, it's cheap. I'm not 100% convinced that it was the person I think it is that was actually riding the Cub. Oh, God, that thing's hot. At the time of the accident, I think that person let somebody else ride the Cub. And they're covering for whoever this third party might be. But because I'm not getting a straight story on it, I don't care. That person's still not riding my Cub. Can't be responsible with somebody else's property, then you don't get to play with it. Man, that thing is so hot I can't hang on to it. It is really hot outside today. Woo, holding it with a shirt. Let's just do a little comparo here. Ooh, god dang, that's hot. Let's see if I can get it here without getting the stuff on my shirt. All right, I can hold it for a second without being too much of a girl. Ouch. Those aren't hot. That thing's really hot. Wowzers. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, what's wrong with this picture? Seriously bent. Well, luckily they did have these in stock, and I walked away with it and didn't have to wait for the order, because riding with that to Austin likely would have irritated me. Okay, so I will have to pause for a minute, and I'll go inside and get some lithium grease of some kind to put on the pivot, and I shall return. Okay, I'm back, and I'm armed with red goop. Keep it in here because this thing tends to leak. This heavy-duty, extreme, stable, premium synthetic stuff that never dries out. Never comes out of your clothes either. If you get it in your clothes, you're screwed. Hope you didn't want to wear that. Don't need that much, but it's hard to get just a little bit. Might as well goop it up good. Alright, so judging by the placement of the goop on the other one, it's all underneath. And we got a little bit on the friction surface here with the master cylinder plunger. We'll duplicate their grease efforts. Don't want too much of it to gather dust and muck, but we do need a little bit so it stays smooth actuation. Alright, so now the fun part is getting it back together and not getting this stuff on my clothes. Get. You can see how much further that's sitting out now. The other one was bent in so close to the grip. Okay, so that's on there. I'm going to leave that right where it is. I'm going to ever so carefully get my degunkifier out of my pocket. Should be wearing gloves because this stuff takes forever to get off your skin. Synthetic grease, man, does not break down. Yeah. Okay. Oh well. I wash. Sometimes. Alright. This guy. Just give her a twist, twist, twist. Get it to line up on that bottom thread hole down there somehow. Let's see if he can get it. Not lining up yet. Still not lining up. Where are you? Why you'll not go in? There it is. To push in on the lever a little bit to get the thicker part of that shaft to clear through the lever itself. And I think she's as flat in as she's gonna get. Yep, nope, there it is. Okay, so anybody that hasn't done this before, this bracket is threaded on the bottom, so the threaded part of the screw, bolt, whatever you want to call it, goes through to the bottom and tightens. And then what you want to do is get this just snug. You don't want to crank the you-know-what out of it. And the nut is just a stopper on the bottom. So you don't use it to tension and bring the clamp together. It's just used to kind of tension the pivot bolt to the bracket itself. So you just get this good and tight, maybe, or good and snug rather, maybe 8 or 10 foot-pounds. You want to make sure that the lever still has some wiggle in it. Yep, plenty of wiggle, and it moves freely. There's no drag, okay? And then we just set that nut on the bottom. Sorry, trying to keep you guys on camera. My fingers don't bend that way. Come on now. Thread, thank you. And just spin that on. And the same story here, you just want to snug that up. You don't want to go crazy on it. And when you tighten it, you want to watch this bolt up top, make sure it doesn't go anywhere. That's it, just snug it, that's all you need to do. So, now the Cub has a working brake lever on it again that's not bent to squat. Okay, done. And done. So now the only thing I've got to do yet is figure this out, if it can be figured out. I may have to go get a strap in the garage. I've got to figure out some kind of leverage point for this to be able to hold the bike still and me go full ape on it. Now, yeah, you can see how this thing, it's got scuffs all along the top here. It looks like it hit something. Hopefully it didn't hit the exhaust. Anyway, so that guy took a serious impact forward and up because it's got scuff here, and a big mark on the face of it. I don't have enough monkey strength to bend that guy without some assistance. I do have a couple of big pipe wrenches in the garage. I think that's what I might end up grabbing. I'll wrap a couple shop rags around this to try to prevent marring the finish, and I'll put the wrench at this angle over here and crank it downward. I'm not really pleased about putting all that torque on my brake, but we'll figure it out. So anyway, I just want to bring it out. It's pushed in probably 2 inches. Yeah, that's a good 2 inches there because it should be sitting about right there. So I'll try to bring it out. I have a new brake arm coming, but it won't be here until tomorrow or sorry, later this week or early next week. It wasn't that expensive. I think it's 20 or 30 bucks for the whole arm, but nevertheless, I don't have one spare in the garage, just waiting for such an occasion because I don't drop my bikes or beat them up. Anyway, all right, so here's my plan. And how well it's going to work, but we're going to find out. Okay. These are not going to work. This might work. But again, I'm not real pleased about the idea of putting all this torque on that brake bar and into my rear brakes there. We'll see how this works out. And first I have to lodge a complaint. There's something wrong with these beer bottles. They've got a leak in them somewhere. Every time I go to pick one up, it's empty. I don't understand. All right. I'm hot and I'm annoyed. and I'm thirsty. All right, so here's the plan. You can see the line there. I'm just gonna get a good hold on this thing. I'm not putting rotational torque on it. It's just going downward to try to convince this guy at the right angle, but I've got to hang on to the bike at the same time because I don't want to push it over on the other side and end up with more boo-boos to fix. Monkey. Well, I got about a 1/4 inch out of it. This is hard to do because I have to control the rotate. Oop, you're cutting through that drag, aren't you? I have to control the rotation of the wrench and the angle and press down at a different angle to rotate this bar back out. Let's see if I can do a better job with the other hand. I don't really care how much I tear this thing up, but I don't want to damage the brake. Yeah, that's all I'm going to get out of it. I can tell I'm putting too much stress on the brake bar. So yeah, that's not really repairable, at least not on the bike. I would have to pull it off the bike in order to get it in a vise and probably heat it up with a propane torch or a acetylene torch at a little further distance. Get it good and hot and bend it out. Of course, heating it is going to damage the chrome and blue it up and make it look funny. So at any rate, it's being replaced. But yeah, you can see all the concrete marks and whatnot on it. Actually, that might be a jaw mark, but yeah, whatever. It's mangulated. I don't think it's coming back. Let's go double thick on that jaw and give it one more try. Throw a monkey wrench into the thing here. Try not to hit my fairing any worse than it's already been hit. Alright, so there's a redneck, soft-jawed monkey wrench. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can get the angle and hang on to the bike at the same time. Of course, my leg is in the way. Let's try this side. No, still not that. Okay, that's it. The bike is coming to me. That's as good a hard a bend as I can get on it without messing up my brakes, so I'm not going to push that any further. Get off. Get off. Okay, so plan B. Yeah, that didn't even get half as far as I need to be. It needs to be up here. That's the original position. So it's 1.5 inches back still and tilted up, and yeah. So anyway, there's not much free space here, and I'm betting that as my foot rests right here, it's going to be activated slightly with me just putting my foot in that area. So that means I've got to loosen up the rear brake tensioner a little bit. I'll go ahead and do that while I'm sitting. Good old thumb bolt back here. Rotate about 2 clicks and see what that gives me. Hey, toddler woke up. A little unhappy from a nap, I guess. Still loose, or still tight rather. I'll go a couple more turns counterclockwise and give myself plenty of slack on there. I don't want to. Yeah, that's better. I want to have to push pretty far down on it to activate it because it's so close into my foot here. Yeah. Well, that's that. Okay, my next road prep item for this guy, besides doing the tape on the front, if I go that far today, I'm gonna put the ride-on tire sealant in here. So I'm gonna go inside, check the dosage calculator thing online, figure out how much I need to put in each tire, and I'll put that on video as well. It's real simple. You just remove the valve stem, drain the air out of the tire. The tube of goo comes with its own little slip over tube that goes onto the valve stem, and you fill her up with however much it asks for and cap it and go ride it so it distributes itself in the tire and spreads all around. So I would much rather do that than end up stranded on the road somewhere because a patch kit didn't work out for me or something.